West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Let's go back to the phone lines because they are hot. Artists, Denver. Good morning, Artists. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning.
Well, good morning. Long time no see, guys.
Yeah, yesterday.
Just reoccurs to me that I worked with a nurse at Children's in the 80s and 90s. Her father was Dr. Biber. He was the one doing the surgeries for transition down in Trinidad. He had so many grown men, that's over 21, come back and say, I wish I had never done this, that he finally said, forget it, and he quit doing them. If grown adult men cannot make this silly decision and stick with it, why are we teaching grade school children that it's a choice?
Yeah, I'm intrigued by this, Bill, and I love your thoughts on it because we see detransitioners coming out going, it was the wrong decision. It was the wrong decision. So what do we do as a society? Is transitioning your gender the right decision or the wrong decision?
What's the percentage of people, artists, that came in and said they were unhappy? Of the total number of surgeries, do we know the percentage?
She didn't tell me any percentage. I don't know that I would have understood at that time anyway, because I don't know how many men were doing it.
Does that matter?
It was not, well, you can't transition. We used to call this, I think it was either trender or sexual dysmorphia or sexual
gender dysphoria. Yeah, gender dysphoria.
And once upon a time, we classified homosexuality as a mental illness as well. All of those things are true. But what's the percentage? And do you think the percentage of people inside that community that are unhappy matters? Does that influence anything based on your perception of it?
What I think matters is you can't change your gender. You can dress however you want. You can cut off or add on anything to your body, but it does not change the fact you are either XX or XY. Deal with it.
Well,
because
you're
God
not, though. But artists, to be fair, you're not either XX or XY. There are over a dozen other subsets of that. There are people that are out there. There are people that are out there whose bodies reject the testosterone of the male chromosome, and so they are XY, but they present as a woman. They look like a woman, have women's genitalia, but they have XY. That is something that exists in nature. There are subsets of other ones that have duplicator 3 genes there. There's also a thing about the Y chromosome basically atrophying later on in life, and there is a natural issue of lower testosterone and some things that we're dealing with as well genetically. So the idea that it is only a binary choice of one or the other isn't true in nature in humans.
But in your case, what you just argued there, in every single case, you argued some form of physical deformity or change in some capacity. What gender identity has made the argument is that in your mind, you can change.
No, here's the thing. That's not the argument I made. The argument that I made there was that artists said you are either A or B. And I showed that you are more than A or B. Other things exist than A or B. So if she's operating off the premise of either A or B, and that's all I'm saying, is it is not scientifically either A or B. That's it. End of it. Well, that's as far as I'm going with the argument on that one. That's it.
But
it's not either A or B.
So is gender dysphoria rooted in physical or mental?
Okay, guys.
But I'm not sure it matters.
Really? You don't think so?
No, I don't really.
So but that would be the argument then that it's mental, right? That it's a mental identification, not a physical.
And if it is, then what? So if so, then what?
I mean, go ahead, artist.
Okay, I was just going to say, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. I remember in the Bible, God created Adam and Eve. There was nothing in between, nothing, they didn't morph into anything else. I still believe God did what God decided should be done. How we have messed it up is not due to the fact that God made a mistake somehow. I don't know why we've messed it up. I don't know genetics that well. I worked with premature infants as a nurse. But
hey, artist,
it's wrong.
Artist, could we be misinterpreting it as assuming that God made a mistake?
No.
You assumed that it was a mistake.
God,
and if it isn't a mistake, isn't a mistake, does it then change your perception?
It's not a mistake because God doesn't make mistakes.
Okay.
Humans
So then
mistakes.
shouldn't then by that logic we accept trans people as who they are because God wouldn't make that mistake?
No. You don't. I mean, you can be whatever you want to. You can be whatever you want to be. However,
you just said you couldn't a minute ago.
Don't teach it to children.
But I think we're conflating and changing the physical and the mental. Like I just pointed out, I think we just all agreed that transgenderism was a mental.
No, we didn't all agree on that.
Right.
What I said,
no,
we didn't all
Okay.
agree. I don't agree on that one. But what I'm asking is, if it is, then what? If that is your conclusion, then what does that mean? What is the implication? Because what I'm looking at
a
is,
lot of things.
if it's biological or mental, what does that mean?
If it's mental, that means a lot of things. Like one,
what?
physically altering your body is rooted in a mental understanding, not a physical reality.
Okay, and then
Right?
what? But then what? And because this
So
is where I'm going.
you're going to chop off perfectly working body parts to align your body with a mental understanding of yourself.
Isn't that plastic surgery?
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure that that's good, but actually,
hang on.
I don't think they're the same thing.
No, hang on. Wait.
I think putting
you're
a little
talking about
Botox in your cheeks is a little different than whacking off perfectly working body parts.
Well, sometimes we whack off perfectly good body parts and replace them with better looking body parts. So the idea, but if it's the mental, and where I was going was your statement that mentally I see something that I don't like about my body and then I go and change it and that would be wrong. And that is the core inside of the plastic surgery community.
No, I think those are fundamental differences.
It's the same choice. So that's
altering your body like your hair color and then adding boobs or whacking off parts of purposely functioning body.
Those
are
differences.
Women.
Have you seen the Real Housewives or whatever the hell city it's in?
Are they changing their sex?
They all have fake boobs, fake chins,
right? And you don't see it any
else.
different. So some guy, for instance,
I'm asking you because what I'm saying is the idea of
carving off part of their forearm to create a penis to put on there is the same in your mind as someone getting enhanced boobs.
Here's the thing, though. No, what I'm doing is I'm using your premise of, since I look in the mirror and see something different, it's wrong for me to want to change that. That's where I'm going. I'm just seeing if that's true. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. The audience just heard you say that a couple minutes ago.
I don't think I said that at all. I said you're having physical changes. That's part of. You asked what are the consequences of having it mental, not just physical. Assuming that transgenderism is a mental issue. What are the consequences of it? Is that you physically change your perfectly working body to address that. That's one of the consequences of it. And I don't think they're the same as plastic surgery. All right. Artists, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Artists' line will be open 303-696-1971. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Thursday morning, 65 and sunny in Denver. Expecting a high of 80 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
None of these things are hasty crimes or crimes of passion. There's always some kind of trail left behind. That includes STEM.
DA George Brockler knows all about these school shootings and going after the bad guys.
I mean, they spent 2.5 weeks as broken vessels getting together and planning what they were going to do in one version or another. It didn't just happen. And for whatever reason, they become fixated on causing other people pain. And it's to satiate either their own pain or some other selfish thing that they're dealing with.
Discussing the shooting in Minneapolis on Wednesday with Jeff and Billy this morning, 23-year-old Robin Westman, who changed his name from Robert, killed 2 children and injured 17 others. He died by suicide at the scene. Jake Tapper had to make sure that he got it right and did it correctly.
Another piece of the puzzle as to who the shooter was. The Minneapolis Star-Tribune says, according to court records, because there's been some confusion about what the shooter's name was.
Yes.
Robin Westman's mother applied to change her child's name in 2019. It was at one point Robert Paul Westman.
Correct.
But since she identifies as a female and wants her name to reflect that identification, was underage, it's now Robin Westman.
Yeah, I'm sure all this trans stuff didn't have anything to do with him wanting to lash out. Jesse Waters hit the nail on the head last night on Fox News.
Suicidal transgender who hates Trump's Christians and Jews shoots up kids at a Catholic school, and the media wants to take away your handgun. So how are we supposed to protect ourselves from trans shooters? The media is bad at pattern recognition. We aren't. Just 2 years ago, another trans 20-something walked into a Christian school in Nashville with a rifle and shot 3 kids and 3 adults. They buried the manifesto and locked down the case. We've seen trans shootings in Colorado and in Maryland. They even shot up an ICE facility in Texas. And it seems like half of Antifa's trans. A couple of they-thems just got popped for firebombing Teslas.
Yep, including in Loveland. We remember him or her or whatever that was, the Loveland dealership, Tesla dealership. DJT ordering flags to be flown at half staff today. First Lady Melania posting on X today to intervene if you notice something that would be a warning sign with a person who might commit a crime like the one in Minneapolis. At least 15 people are dead and multiple others.
Can we,
yes.
Real quick, Blake, can we get to a point as a society to go the gun-free zones are just around our schools are just stupid at this point?
What is it? Over 95% are of these things happen at gun-free zones. You're right.
Right. Like, it's just a giant welcome mat to these guys. What you saw in these guys' videos and that guy's videos that killed the kids in Minnesota was a bloodlust.
Yeah.
I mean, his
Absolutely.
whole goal is to murder and drive fear into as many children as possible. And what did we as a society do? We put all of our kids in gun-free zones.
Right.
There are people out there that just want to do this. This is what they do. It reminds me of we have free-range chickens on our property, okay? And we have coyotes that come and just grab the chickens and leave. The coyotes know that our chickens are free-range. They know that they could grab one.
Right.
That's why they come to our ranch.
Thank you.
The only way I stop those coyotes is by shooting them.
Yes.
So
exactly.
That motivation for bloodlust, for grabbing and killing these kids is there. The only way to stop a guy like that is to shoot him when he shows up on your school campus.
It's the only thing that's going to stop it. Ultimately, if it's not by someone else, it's by him. And that's what happened yesterday. Ah, man, at least 15 people are dead and multiple others are injured after a Russian attack on Ukraine's capital. Officials say over 20 locations across Kiev were hit, leaving thousands without power. The CDC director has been fired by the White House. HHS announced Susan Maneras was no longer the agency's director Wednesday. And at first, this is after she refused to leave her post. Her lawyer said it was due to her being a person of integrity and devoted to science. Science, the science. While also adding she was targeted after clashing with HHS Director RFK Jr. over vaccine policy. The science. A White House spokesperson said Maneras was not aligned with President Trump's agenda and that they had terminated her. Okay, so hopefully she understands that. A recall effort is underway against Pueblo County Coroner Brian Cotter once again after state inspectors found improperly stored bodies at his privately owned Davis mortuary. Civil rights leader David Huron is one of the people who filed a notice of intent with the county this week.
I just thought it was totally unacceptable for an elected official to be caught up in that kind of situation. People of Pueblo deserve better, and the families who use these individuals, who we may not know for years to come, deserve better.
Community members Paulette Anaya and Annette Garcia also joined the filing to initiate a recall petition. The group that was targeted in the June terrorist attack in Boulder, remember that? Well, they'll no longer advertise its weekly events. The Jewish Community Relations Council says the Boulder Run for Their Lives chapter is now being harassed by people shouting threats and insults. The JCRC says the escalation in harassment has made it impossible to safely hold the event in public. One person died, of course, and more than a dozen people were injured, almost killed, in an attack on the group on June 1st at the Pearl Street Mall. The weekly walk will now be held at an undisclosed location under heavy security, and they may use more than one location. College football kicking off tonight for area teams. Wyoming, the Pokes take on Akron. Tomorrow, the Buffs at Folsom play host to Georgia Tech. 63 in Lone Tree, 62 in Broomfield, 65 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
For the next 3 days, shower and thunderstorm chances are still going to remain fairly high, but we might see the sun a little bit more. Daytime temperature readings are still going to struggle for late August. Highs will be 70s to near 80 today, Friday, and upper 70s Saturday. Nights will be 50s to near 60 degrees. A bit warmer with less in the way of thunderstorms Sunday and Monday. Weather is service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
We're going to get to the phone lines here in just a second. Jim Littleton, you're up next. Let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian. Dan has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. All right, Jim Littleton, good morning. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning, fellas. How you all doing today?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I was just wondering, has anyone ever considered the possible mental issues that may arise from giving puberty blockers to adolescents who are going through puberty? I only ask this because when I was much younger, I dabbled in steroids, and I took some testosterone that at that time was sold over the counter at the gym that I went to. Okay, when I decided to come off because I didn't know any better, I just stopped taking it, and I melted down. I had literally like a breakdown emotionally. So you're taking adolescents whose hormones are just pumping out like crazy, and you're going to block them and then introduce the opposite. So you're going to take the testosterone from the boys and introduce estrogen. What do you think that's going to do to their mind, to their emotions? Is that anything that's ever taken into consideration? Because I feel like you're literally producing something that you have no idea what is happening.
Yeah, there are some research studies that look at it from both sides, and some of them say that in certain forms, in certain cases, there has been a benefit, and other studies have shown that there can be a detriment. Most of the time, the detriment doesn't occur necessarily on the mental side of things, but on the physical. That some of those puberty blockers that have been used create changes that can't be reversed, and others will reverse after you stop taking them. And there seems to be a difference in which ones impact the person's body long term, and it has to do with things like bone density, muscle development, and other things that can cause problems later on in life. Now, like you, I am concerned about it. I am not in favor of medication and puberty blockers in people under the age of 18, but I will allow an individual and a parent and a doctor together to make the choice they think is best for their individual. Here's the thing, though, that I look at, Jim, is I firmly believe that if we would accept these teenagers as who they say they are and not put so much pressure on them, that maybe they wouldn't feel the need to do the puberty blockers. Maybe they wouldn't feel the need to go after some of the surgeries. Maybe they wouldn't feel the societal pressure, because part of the reason that these kids start doing the puberty blockers is because they need to look like the other sex. Otherwise, when they're out in public, people are going to treat them different. People are going to denigrate them.
But part of the pressure, Billy, is that these people are also being pressured by doctors, people and teachers, people in their lives to do the puberty blockers. And I think in my brain, because I've literally dealt with that kind of issue, that's insanity. And I dealt with it as like a 35-year-old man. So I know that it is really like it can be an emotional disaster, especially when you're in your adolescent years. Your body is producing so many hormones, and then you want to just change that direction just like that, and you don't know what's going to happen on the other side.
Here's something else, man, that you have direct experience with. You understand the dangers in the balance. Because if you would change the amount of steroids you would inject, that imbalances your metabolism. And especially going through, and some of the studies that I've seen, some of them being very positive about it, I have a real concern about changes in, as you outlined, the hormonal balance in a developing body when we are adding in the other medications, because some of those medications can be off. Even with adults on something as simple as what I would say, like heart medication. That people know that if you increase or decrease your level of heart medication, it can increase or decrease your blood pressure and the number of beats your heart has per minute. You get that off.
But I think they take that much more serious than just pumping these kids full of something, and they don't know the outcome. They don't know what's going to happen on the other side.
And the difficult part in the conversation is, I think the solution to the no medication is acceptance, where other people will come to rejection, that they shouldn't be allowed to do this or say they're this person or present this way ever at all, never. Where I side on the era of that I would allow them. I would say that, okay, I'm going to try to keep you away from those medications and those surgeries by accepting who you are. That's how I
that's
feel.
You and me, though. But that's you and me, though, not the doctors and not the teachers, right?
And you're right. And
people are getting pressured, and people are selling things because they're easy to sell. And now they make it even easier.
Great involved.
Great
a
point,
lot of that's coming out.
Great point.
Jim,
nice job.
Littleton, text messages coming in about your call. 8422. Jim's calls made the most sense of anything I've heard on the subject so far. Well done. Good experience from Jim, who got on testosterone, steroids, and it really messed him up when he tried to come off of it. And I think everybody agrees on this one, at least on this aspect of the debate. When you have pharmaceuticals in an advertisement that can list every possible side effect, and they study it down to the smallest minute impact it may have, and with these hormones, there's absolutely an agenda coming from some doctors, some teachers, some nurses to push this on kids for financial reasons, and it's unacceptable. All right, let's talk Colorado's best roofing. You know that living in Colorado means dealing with unpredictable weather, hail, snow, heavy winds, you name it. We got it. That's why you need a roofing company you can trust, and that's Colorado's best roofing. They're local, family-owned, and have served the Denver area for over 12 years. They understand our unique climate and how to build a roof that lasts. Whether you need a repair after a storm or a whole new roof, Colorado's best roofing has got you covered. Here's what I really love. They offer a free, no-obligation inspection. They'll come out, take a look, give you an honest assessment. There's no pressure or gimmicks, just straight talk from the pros. Plus, they work with your insurance company to make sure you get the coverage you deserve. So don't wait until the next big storm hits. Give Colorado's Best Roofing a call today at 303-797-ROOF. That's 303-797-7663. Or visit them at roofingcolorado.com, 303-797-7663. Or go to roofingcolorado.com. Trust the best. Colorado's best roofing. All right, Brad, Highlands Ranch. Good morning, Brad. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. First, our thoughts and prayers are out to all the families. This is a horrible story to be even having to talk about here on the air this morning. But when I hear these stories, the first word that pops out to me in the stories are depression. Depression is treated with an SSRI drug. It's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Now, if people don't know what that is, it is a drug for antidepressant medication, and it's so commonly used, it's given out almost like an Altoid. I mean, it's insane. Now, the problem with this drug is it can cause psychosis, and it can cause massive issues with people. And what I mean by that is that if you try to wean, as Jim was saying, on steroids, you try to wean yourself off of this, you will literally have an outer body experience. Next time you get the Attorney General, JD 23.
Yeah, George
Rocker on the air. Ask him about SSRI and how much that fills his courtrooms.
And he's going to appreciate pointing out that he's not the AG.
Having.
He's just going to appreciate you pointing that out. I'm teasing.
Yeah,
I'm teasing him because he lost a wife.
Tried.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. That's the thing, man. Now, here's the thing: is I appreciate where you're going with this. I'm going to let you have more space here in a second, and I agree with you because part of when you talk about the idea of coming off of those depression medications is that the people involved feel that they're doing better, so they will self-medicate. They won't always follow the treatment plan. And you're right, it can create psychosis. And you're right, when they're feeling better, sometimes they will drop off their medication and then try to go back on. And that creates a whole nother layer of problems. But please, continue.
So the issue I think is happening is the cocktail that comes after you're on an SSRI. Just adding a drink like Red Bull is toxic. If you were to have 2 Red Bulls a day, and you're on an SSRI, it's against protocol, number one. Number two, the experience that these people are having just off something that's an energy drink is massive. So when I see shooters and I see things happening or people losing their mind on a bus or whatever case, and they say they battled depression, they're prescribed these medications right off the bat. This is the number one go-to thing for a doctor. The problem is the doctors are never being held accountable to make sure they get off the drugs properly, taking them properly, because these drugs are very dangerous. If you are on an SSRI drug, make sure that you are in constant communication with your doctor, or things will happen in your life that will be 100% out of your control. That is a guarantee. So
I'm sympathetic
more of a
to
public
this,
safety.
Brad, I'm sympathetic to this because I took malaria meds one time. When I was traveling to Africa, I don't take really much other medication. Took malaria meds, and I have never been more paranoid in my life. There are meds that just screw with your brain.
OCD, right? PTSD, all those disorders, an SSRI drug is prescribed. So if you take a look at at anyone who is battling any type of mental hurdle in life, the best thing you could do is get detoxified. But that's not what happens. And I think if you go and dig into all the shooters and all the things, you're going to find that most of these people battled depression, OCD, PTSD, and they were prescribed at one point or got their hands on something like this. It's probably over 80% of them, if not more.
Wow. Brad, great call. Sure appreciate it. That's Brad from Highlands Ranch. His line's open, 303-696-1971. Everyone always asks, what makes advanced hair restoration different? Allow me to share along with some details on, and get this, their once-a-year summer savings event. Guys, it's wrapping up here right now. You got to take advantage. First off, Advanced Hair stands by their results. Their before and afters are second to none. With Advanced Hair, your own natural hair is guaranteed to grow. Secondly, Advanced Hair combines top-rated physicians with modern technology, creating a concierge quality experience that's hard to find elsewhere. Lastly, Advanced Hair's Advanced FUE begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. It's quick, it's simple, and it's easy. Now, if you have a flexible schedule this summer and you've been waiting for that special savings opportunity, it's here. Advanced Hair Summer Savings Event will get you the most hair for your dollar. It's their best offer ever. So for details and to schedule your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Before and afters are available at advancedhair.com. Advancedhair.com will continue. Phone lines are still hot. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The phone lines remain hot. Let's go back to them. Mike in Denver. Good morning, Mike. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hello.
Hi, Mike. Yep, that's you. You're up.
Okay. Hello, sir. I wanted to tell you a little sidebar story that happened yesterday on off-air broadcast TV from Lookout Mountain. There was an episode of The Rifleman that was on. And in the storyline was that Micah, the sheriff, had to leave town for a few days, and Lucas was unavailable, so the blacksmith becomes a deputy sheriff to enforce laws and stuff, while Micah is out of town and Lucas is tied up. And the blacksmith decides that everybody in town has to leave their guns with him, that nobody can have a gun in town because the guns always cause so many problems for them. But there was a gang of people that came to town that were looking to rob the bank, and they gladly gave them their guns, and then as they were leaving, they went back to get them. And while they were in town, while they didn't have their guns, they were pacing the bank. And so they leave town, get their guns back, except they don't actually leave. They take over the sheriff's office and kidnap the deputy and put him in the blacksmith and put him in the jail while they're getting ready to rob the bank. And then Mark, Lucas's son, comes in and he gets taken too and just disappears. So Lucas is trying to find him, and he uncovers the plot going on to rob the bank and he had not given up his gun. He left town because he had to give up his gun, and then came back to town looking for Mark. And at that point in time, Lucas, with his skill as a marksman, was able to get everybody out of the jail that was in the jail, that the gunsmith and Mark, his son.
Yeah, it sounds like the bottom line story is that the gun-free zones allowed criminals to take advantage of the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they knew it ahead of time, and they oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. But I mean, when you have that evil, when you see the videos that this mass shooter in Minnesota produced prior to his shooting, there was nothing that was going to stop him. He wanted as many kids to die as possible, and he picked a place that allowed him to do that. So they're looking for these gun-free zones. They want to inflict pain and death. And it's only when that type of evil shows up, it's only a good guy with a gun, whether it's a law enforcement officer, a security guard, or somebody with a concealed carry, that's going to stop that type of person. Mike, Denver, sure, appreciate the call. Thanks so much.
And much in the Old West, you would surrender your gun when you walked into the town to the sheriff.
Tombstone.
And you had, it was municipal ordinances. So it would all be dependent upon that particular town as far as what they felt. So, yeah.
All right, let's talk Gyrie's here real quick. We went into Gyrie's in Parker. Great experience there. Got a chance to meet with their professional designer because prior to that, all the home improvement stuff we did was basically on our own. We thought there were two options. We get a chance to do it ourselves, or we can't afford a pro like Extreme Makeover Home Edition to come improve our house for us. So we were left on our own, but went to Gyrie's, and I realized there's this great middle option. I can get a professional design experience without the crazy costs, someone that's going to answer all of our questions, even come out to our house, bring paint samples, bring window shade samples so we can see what it looks like. They even do laser measuring to make sure everything is the perfect fit with your curtains. Gyrie's has solutions for you for everything from window treatments to full room decor. Give them a call. Get that personalized in-home consultation. They'll come right to you and give you that expert advice right in your own home. So do yourself a favor. Get started today. Guys, your wife will love having somebody to ask tons of questions with regards to home decoration. My wife enjoyed it and made me happy. So Gyrie's.com, GUIRYS.com, GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, let's go to Dave. Divide. Good morning, Dave. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning, guys.
So what's on your mind?
Oh well, this is just it's just it keeps happening, these shootings, and it's been going on since Columbine, even before that, and you just get it's just a hard time, the anniversaries. I worked at Columbine for about 8 months before the shooting. I did a month of we were putting in I was an electrician. We were putting in sensors because there were cold spots in the school, and in retrospect, surprise, surprise. But it was strange being there and seeing everybody, from the policeman who the principal in the office to the policeman who went up against the guys, tried to stop him. I even saw Klebold come in the school once with his army jacket on, but you'd see like the cheerleaders in the morning. I'd be there, and they always had summer school. And the sad thing was, a lot of the kids that got it that day from those two were just trying to get themselves better. I remember when the pictures came out, I'd recognize these kids from summer school, the Kelly Fleming, Cassie Burnell, Kyle Velasquez. And it was strange because Kyle Velasquez looked so much like Kendrick Castillo later. It was like, and it was, for me, the school was cool because I was having physical problems. I started exercising again, being around all these kids, and then I come back years later. So, and I was thinking, there was also years ago in the 20s, some dude, I believe he was either handyman or even an electrician then, he tried to blow up a school in Minnesota. I believe he did it actually, and actually took a large amount of life. That's something to look up. So it ain't like this is a new thing. This guy was mad about it, loans and bills, I guess, and wired the school up in his free time and blew it up. And this was back in 20s, 30s. So
yeah, it's in the late
strange.
20s, I think. It's late 20s, early 30s is when that happens.
But it's very strange to be so close to it. It's hard when the anniversaries would come around. If you know people that have gone through these things, even my daughter was at the Littleton shooting that took a life of a girl there, and she was lucky. I told her, I said, if you ever get the chance, you get out, you run. She made it outside. They called her back in, but she was known as, she took some friends with her, but it was so good. But remember, these things started, those guys just didn't decide, hey, they're
targeting our kids. Going back to Barney, that's what they're doing.
Everything, though, there's so many things so many callers have said today. How do you pinpoint the thing that causes it? Those two were bullied, and they decided, hey, I was bullied. I remember reading those great cartoons. Are you tired of getting sand kicked in your face in the magazines when I was a kid, in the comics? And I figured out, I almost got beat up because I didn't do enough bar dips, and I realized if I did 10 bar dips, I won't get beat up in the physical fitness thing. And that's how I overcame getting picked on, and we moved around a lot.
It's interesting that you're going that way, Dave. I got a question for you on that one, because it kind of follows up with when we were talking with George Brockler from Judicial District 23 earlier today. And he basically expressed that in many cases with these types of mass shootings, especially the school shootings, that the shooter is feeling pain, and they're trying to inflict pain on as many innocents as possible as kind of a representation of what they're feeling inside. Do you agree with that? And if so, what do we do about it?
Well, I remember to me, it's like the lashing out thing was done. They lashed out because they were being targeted, and then for a while, the schools and everybody, we tried to. Everybody, don't pick on people, don't do this and that. But I don't know. I don't know the answers for this stuff. It's so. For me, I just would have never thought of it, but then I think it's also the modernization. The kids don't have to go to Tahiti or Africa to see it. They can see it on TV. They get bored. Hey, there's guns available. Let's go do this. Let's go get part of a gang. Dave,
I appreciate that. Now we have a break coming up, Dave, but I really appreciate that phone call, and I appreciate where you're going with that, because in the manifesto that we've seen from the Minnesota shooter, part of what we saw in the behavior was videos that fed the bloodlust, that the shooter expressed how much they enjoyed viewing videos of shootings and watching people die and the pain inflicted on innocents. That was something that they viewed as feeding their rage and their motivation. I think that's interesting.
We'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
If you're just tuning in, the mass shooting at a Catholic school in Minnesota was the center point of our discussions today. What is going on? Do you blame demonic possession, transgenderism, access to guns? We debated it all, and I guarantee you'll not hear another show with this style of debate anywhere else, anywhere in the media. So if you missed it, be sure to download the podcast by going to 710knus.com. That's 710knus.com. So we wrap here. Let me tell you about my friend Dan Kaplis with Dan Kaplis Law. I've known Dan well over a decade. He suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everybody involved in the case. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is also believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Kaplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dankaplislaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. Bill, with the IHOP yesterday and today's discussion, it's been a wild week.
It's been incredible. And again, so appreciate each and every one of you. 1, showing up yesterday at IHOP, and 2, just playing along with us today. We know we have a lot of different choices, and the fact that you choose to spend any of your moments with us, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
And Barney, we love you.
Barney,
hopefully you
took
a breath a little bit.
Dude, you are a rock star. Man, I love you.
You've been listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is Denver's Talk Leader. We are KNUS.